Aloha, Matthew. Welcome to Built to Scale.
Aloha, Scotty. You are looking fine, my man. Do I have to ask where you are?
If you haven't figured it out yet, I'm on one of the commercialized islands of Hawaii. I'm in Maui. The US do their islands well. So yeah, on a beautiful holiday with the family.
Lovely. 3 p.m. I believe it is in Hawaii. 9 p.m. where I am in New York. So it's past midday where both of us are. So I'd say cheers.
Cheers.
What do you got there?
I got a little Napa Valley Chardonnay, which is pretty delightful. A little buttery number. How about yourself? Also,
living in Napa, I have gone for the Cab Sav though. So in New York and finishing off the night, it's lovely.
I'm going to finish off my night exactly the same way. So, so beautiful work there. How's New York treating you?
It's really good. We had a big customer training yesterday. I've now got a couple of days off looking after the little man. Got to figure out how to stop him from puking in the cabs around New York. We went to the Statue of Liberty today and saw that. And then working towards the end of this week, and then I'll be back home. I can call it home now, to Austin.
Yeah, how's these kids vomiting? So we're getting the plane over and we're getting the, this is the way I said it to people who I was traveling with. So it's like a 7 p.m. flight. You land in Honolulu at 7 a.m. It goes to 10 hours. And you gain a day. And you just think, well done, smartest decision ever. Qantas, the good company, Australian company. We get on the plane. There's no Wi-Fi, as we've discussed. The other thing on the ticket, they said there might be Wi-Fi. So they give you a thought that maybe it'll be coming. Yeah, it says potential Wi-Fi. And then you get there, there's no Wi-Fi. And I get a bit upset. The kids get upset. They just start vomiting everywhere. And they're basically sick for the whole flight, two of them. So,
and you're talking literally here. You're not saying they were vomiting in disgust of no Wi-Fi. They actually were vomiting the whole plane.
I think both things are true, yeah. I think it was the lack of Wi-Fi that set them off. Definitely set me off. And then they behaved how I was feeling for the next 7 hours. So very little sleep. And yeah, it was a nasty flight. Another Qantas experience for the notebook.
Oh, that's very good, Scotty. Well, I must say, I'm glad you arrived, and I'm glad you came with the lei around your neck. We talked about last week or the week before the release of Nano Banana from Google or Gemini, which is their newest image generation model. And I hadn't had a chance to go in, but just before the pod, I thought, why not test this out? See how good it is. And Scotty, I've prepared something. I'm going to share my screen right now if I can figure out how to do this.
Is this a technical first on the Built to Scale pod?
Yeah.
We have not shared a screen.
I know. So I'm going to see if this works. Can you see what I'm sharing?
Oh, it's too accurate. Far out.
For those who are just listening and not on YouTube, so we'll put this up. I've put in a photo of Scotty's face into Nano Banana and just said with the prompt something along the lines of Scott's currently in Hawaii, put him on the beach with a sarong, drinking out of a coconut with a lei around his neck, and it is absolutely delivered.
Did you ask for the Rolex or did it do some research?
No, so I've figured out I used the photo from your website, and it's like you can just see
assumed
the
one.
Rolly. Well, it's just assumed. Yeah, he said this builder must be doing well.
The only thing it's missing, and my friends from both out in Roval and from Scotch will say that it's missing my Batman-like tattoo on my shoulder that I think I revealed to you and your lovely wife at our dinner.
Yeah, I'll have to give it that context next time. The AI needs the context.
That is pretty accurate, though. I think the two kids have done a bit of damage to the rig, and that's probably me at 28 there. But very good by Nano Banana. It's look, I've been using it for work use. You're taking the P15s out of me with it, but it's a serious product, isn't it?
It is. It's very good. It's very good. Now, have I stopped sharing my screen? I've tried to. You're not currently seeing that anymore. We can get on with the pod.
No, I'm looking at myself in a, with
Oh,
a
you still
rollie and
are?
a coconut.
Oh wow.
I'm happy to look at it. It's,
I
it's
don't.
fine.
I actually don't know how to turn it off. So you have to deal with that the rest of the pod.
Okay, all right. We got it's a bit of inspo. Mate, that's very good.
Close.
And what I could have been wearing in that Nano Banana shot was potentially the brand new pair of Meta Ray-Bans that I'm absolutely going to invest in. So this week, I'm not sure if this has been a release on purpose or if it's a leak, but the actual Meta Ray-Bans are now going AR. And I thought, for us, this is a huge turning point because I enjoyed the Meta Ray-Bans, but I thought, oh, when's the AR version coming out? And I thought maybe get your opinion on what you think of it, and also maybe just describe to the audience like what's the difference between what a Meta Ray-Ban was and what it will be now.
Yeah. So the initial Meta Ray-Ban was they would take in the information around you with a camera, and you could talk to it. So you could say, "What am I looking at?" or take a photo for me. So like cool tech, but limited functionality. There's two major updates that I at least noticed from the leak that they're putting in. So one, they've got a display on them, so you can actually see parts from the operating system or whatever it's delivering. You can actually see that, very similar to like, if you're in a Terminator movie and they've got the cyborg that can see the screen along with the image in front of it. They're doing that, or as you said, AR, augmented reality. So you can actually have a little screen to augment what you're seeing in front of you, and another way of interacting with the AI. The other thing that they've done is they've got this EMG wristband that you wear. So I don't know if we've actually seen that or not, but you put a wristband on and it's meant to pick up the movements in your fingers, I believe. So you can actually like swipe across things. So you could just be standing there, do a little finger swipe like you would swipe across the page on Hinge or Tinder. Not that either of you or I know
Jesus.
about that, apart from our...
I thought we were going to have a week off Hinge. I thought we were going to have a week off. Two married men.
It's our professional research. But you would swipe across the page, but you just do that with your fingers. You don't actually touch a screen, and then the screen in the glasses would swipe over. So two big updates, and again, it's just a leak, but I think it was an accidental leak from the real company account. So hopefully it is true.
Don't you feel, and as the audience might be hearing, we've got the winds of Hawaii and the sirens of New York just blaring through the pod at the moment.
We're hoping that our producer can sort of dull out some of that. Otherwise, it might be a difficult listen.
It's like a Fox News cross, Hawaii and New York. No, but don't you think that this is so much more like product focused and customer focused than, say, the Apple Vision Pro? So these at last round of these were $200 to $300 US, so that this round will be similar, I'm sure. And they've got a style design partner in terms of Meta, in terms of Ray-Ban. And it just seems to me like something you're going to be happy wearing out in public and still feel like that you can socially, be in a social situation with it. Whereas the Vision Pro, this sort of $5,000 thing or $3,000 US that you clearly can't wear anywhere, I just feel like this is going to land so much better. Yeah.
And the Vision Pro is clearly dead. Like, you don't hear anyone talking about them anymore. Apple's not advertising it. That was a complete flop. And it is about blending in with the current environment and the current things that we're wearing. We've talked about this for a while now. We don't necessarily want to add all these other pieces of tech onto us. We want to have the things that we've already got that are already around our environment, like our sunglasses, like our watches, and we want to build the tech into that. And I think they've done a really good job, like you say, of partnering with someone who knows design. It's not like Zuck is in there figuring out how to design sunglasses. He obviously doesn't have a shred of taste in his body, but he is partnering with the right people. And I think you've also got different types. If it's just Ray-Ban, have they partnered with Oakley as well? I don't know, but they've got some like Oakley looking sunglasses for sports as well. Maybe they're Ray-Ban. But I think it looks really good. I'm excited by it.
Yeah. It's another reminder. I think the Apple Vision Pro, like, if Steve Jobs was around, they would have had the same tech. I'm not sure what his involvement in the tech would have been this late in his life, but he would have got it closer to a product experience, closer to what we've seen with the Meta Ray-Bans. I think he would have said, why would our customers be wearing this? You know what I mean? Can they, everything else they've done that he designed was so sleek, and that's just the opposite of that.
Totally. Yeah.
And mate, I know you probably haven't had the time, but over the last week, the All In Summit, which I think we both agree is potentially the best part of the All In pod these days, they managed to get all the heavy hitters there. And Elon jumped on for 45 minutes and delivered on topics only he can when you start thinking about SpaceX, Boring Company, Neuralink, Tesla, Grok, X. It was pretty phenomenal. And I suppose from the top, from Elon's interview, he went pretty deep on Optimus. So we were a bit worried about a few months ago when the lead engineer from Optimus left, and then they stopped, I suppose, working on Optimus 2 and started Optimus 3. And you have to think that Elon got an answer he didn't like, probably about the first principles of the robot itself. So it's like they started again, basically. And they've been talking about, he spoke about it, how hard of a problem it is to solve. And he said it's somewhere between the Model X and Starship in terms of its complexity. And he was just saying, like, you know, the human hand is, you know, what we've, designed through our biology over the last, over thousands of years. Like just that, he has 26 actuators in the hand, of which none of them are available on the planet. So they're creating 26 actuators. So that's just for the hand. So then you think about the rest of the robot's body, just what a complex machine this is. And they're going completely vertically integrated. So they've got no suppliers, basically, no products. And then they're having to be able to scale this and profit from it. So he's talking about building millions of them. He's saying it's going to be the biggest and greatest product in history at about $50,000 a pop. And they're not trying to solve for a couple of functions. They're not going to release until it can do virtually anything.
Yeah, I did catch the first part of that, and we've talked about this before, but want to reiterate why the humanoid robot is so valuable and why everyone's getting so excited by it. And we'll talk about our man, Mr. B. Adcock, later in the pod. But it's because the environment that we live in is built for humans. It is everything that we've got, from the height of a kitchen bench to where door handles are to all of our cupboards, that it's built for humans, right? How big the doorways are. And so if you can get a robot that does exactly what a human can do, plus more, then you can truly replace labor. But short of doing that, you might only partially replace it. And I think that's what Elon's getting at. It's like, we are not going to stop. We're not going to ship something if it can't fully replace a human. And like you say, the hand is one of the most difficult things to replicate. So I think that's really cool. And it is awesome as well to see Elon back at it, out of the government, and at risk of us being called Elon fanboys, which we have before, and it's obviously true. I do just want to say, you've got to respect the guy. Like, going back in, I don't know if we've talked about the X post, but basically someone goes on X, guys, he's tweeting about the stock. He's buying the stock. Daddy's home. Tesla is back. It's gone up $69 to $420 as foretold by the prophecy. So he's still the little child. But what I love was his response to it. And, at the top, Daddy is very much home, but he's saying things like he's burning the midnight oil with Optimus on a Friday night. He takes the red eye to Austin. He wakes up, has lunch with his kids, and then he gets into deep technical design on the Tesla chip. And then he's off walking the floor of the Colossus data centers. So you've got to respect the guy's work ethic, and the fact that he is back at Tesla, he wills it into succeeding again. And probably the funniest part that I saw on this post was someone goes, please avoid giving details on time and location. Your security team must go crazy. Which, with the events in the world, is obviously actually a fair point. But look, I think it is pretty cool to see him back. And I totally agree with you. The All In Summit is the best part of the All In pod now. So I'm keen to get back in and watching all of them with the heavy hitters.
Yeah, I think a little Central Park walk with the AirPods in will get you a couple of hours there. I think I mentioned maybe in our first couple of episodes, I just said that with all that's going on, from my feeling is that all the value is going to be held, or not all the value, but a large portion of value is going to be held in Google, Tesla, and Nvidia. And I think Nvidia would have gone up 40% since then, but I reckon Tesla would have over doubled. And and then Google's gone up 30%. You look at Tesla's range of products, and we joked last week because we went through their master plan, and the only thing that wasn't labeled was the home, so I've still got a chance. But it's an amazing ecosystem they're building, and yeah, he bought $1 billion worth of stock, and the other thing that I think was really cool was he's redone his compensation package, and I don't want to get the numbers wrong here, but I don't have them in front of me, but it's $1 trillion compensation package if he hits the ridiculous targets that are, mean the share price is going to quadruple from this point or something similar. Don't fact check me on the exact numbers, but there's not many CEOs that put their balls on the line like that, where it's pure, no, I do not get remunerated unless I blow the lid off the whole thing.
Yeah. And he's always done that. Like, that's how he made a lot of his net worth the first time with Tesla. I don't know if you remember that, but he basically said he had to get to some production of, I think it was like the Model 3 or maybe it was the Model Y. I can't remember when it was. Otherwise, he wouldn't get basically anything. But if he did do that, some ludicrous target, he got heavily compensated. And if you think about it, everyone's aligned there. The shareholders are aligned, the board is aligned, the consumers are aligned. And, people will still say, he got this ridiculous pay packet. How is that fair? Well, he did something that is basically inhumane, and he risked everything to do it. So, you've got to respect someone who's all in on something.
Yeah, they're just hitting it out of the ballpark every week at the moment. Another absolute heavy hitter, Larry Ellison, who I don't know if we always see the memes. I don't know if he's 80 or 90 or 85. He seems to be aging in reverse. What'll do that is $300 billion of private wealth. Oracle's share price has gone through the roof. He's been involved in everything over the last few weeks. Can you tell us about, I don't know, September, the month of Larry Ellison?
He keeps popping up, and it seems like out of nowhere. Like, if I had to put on a bet on Oracle a couple of years ago as to where they'd be, like, definitely not in Scotty's stock picks, that's for sure. Like Oracle as
sorry, and I haven't advised on Oracle. I just want to make that clear. I only advised on the other three.
Yeah.
Which is financial advice.
oh yeah. We're not giving any financial advice here. This is just satire, of course. But, so, like, Oracle as a company, they started, the big thing was databases, right? Like an Oracle database, that's how they got really big. They got into enterprises, and they, haven't done a heap of innovating since then. They've bought a bunch of companies in the construction space. They bought Aconex for $1.6 billion. Haven't really done much with that product, but they have been known for being very litigious with how they operate. So once you're in a contract with them, it's very hard to get out of it. Probably how they've remained with their market share. But obviously what they have done is they've kept up with their infrastructure capabilities over the years. So Oracle, they run their own databases. It's not like Oracle is running on Amazon Web Services or Google. They were that before they came along. So they've got all this infrastructure. And so OpenAI has gone out and done this big, $300 billion deal or whatever it is with Oracle for them to build out a bunch of their infrastructure. All the investors realize that OpenAI can raise whatever amount of money that they want, and the money that's getting piled into OpenAI has to get spent on the build out of these data centers. And that's all going as revenue to Oracle. Well, a big chunk of it is. So their stock price went up, 30%, basically overnight. Larry put on $100 billion of net worth overnight. And then the other thing that he's throwing his weight around now, I don't know if the listeners remember, but probably 6 months ago when, or maybe longer, when TikTok in the US, there was all these stories about it getting banned and there's a big legal suit going on. Apparently, and this is pretty breaking news, apparently there is a deal that has been finalized between Oracle, Silver Lake, and Andreessen Horowitz to control the US operations of TikTok under a new 80-20 framework with ByteDance. And I think somehow the government's involved as well. So old 85, 90, 95-year-old, whatever he is, Larry is not only putting on $100 billion overnight, he's also controlling the Gen Zers with TikTok now, which is quite funny.
Imagine if you're on TikTok and your grandfather bought it. You're like, oh, My granddad just bought TikTok. Like he is as old as time, Larry Ellison. But I think the other funny thing is that Oracle are investors, or I think Oracle are investors in OpenAI. Then OpenAI spent 300 billion with Oracle, and then Oracle spent 200 billion with Jensen, and he just quietly goes about his business.
Yeah.
He's just doesn't say anything. He's just it all leads back to one man.
It all leads back. Your man's still sitting at the top of the food chain, the apex.
Well, we're going to check that later, because it seems like you've got some sort of dethroning Game of Thrones style going on, and I'm not sure it's going to go down that easy.
We'll get to that.
Look, another thing just from the All In Summit, Demis Hassabis was on there as well, and that was just an amazing listen. I saw a lot of people react on social media just to say how refreshing it was for him to cut the AI spin. Like, he sounds more like a CTO than a CEO, and he talks about things that are actually happening. And then Google just obviously released so many products, Nano Banana and all kinds of things. But he was saying now the way they've actually structured, and that was an enormous shift 12 months ago, and that's probably why we're getting what we're getting now, is that he's team DeepMind. They're calling the engine room of Google now. So he's in control of everything AI in Google. So all the Gemini, Gmail, Nano Banana, just everything runs through his office. And you can see how we're becoming the beneficiaries of that, as opposed to these sort of siloed teams. You might have a shit team doing, something on a project that doesn't work properly. So, but he was to see the difference between him and Elon saying, AGI is, if not here, going to be here in 12 to 18 months, and super intelligence is 5 to 10 years away. And Demis saying, well, no, AGI is actually when you give a model the amount of information that Einstein had when he came up with the theory of relativity. So when are they going to start creating things and making discoveries that a human could? And it starts diving even deeper into what is creativity, what is discovery, what makes us special in terms of doing something on the frontier versus a model just that's been trained on answers and giving them to you. So I thought it was a really interesting interview. For anyone that wants to watch it, always give a tip on what to listen to for the week. I think Demis's interview and Elon's interview is about as good an hour and a half as you could spend in audio, and it's a reminder that the reason we talk about these guys so much is because they are the Einsteins of our generation. These are the people. This is where you're getting your information from. So yeah, what are your thoughts there?
Would you say, Scotty, that Demis is basically saying that we need to go beyond the LLM and there needs to be something else? And would you say that there's someone else that has been parroting that narrative? And should we do the lettuce check on our man Yal Nakun?
Look, I'm on holiday, so I haven't followed up on Yarn. But I tell you what I'm not going with. Don't mention those 3 names in the same sentence, right? Just being behind the 8 ball and saying, "Oh, this is now important." But he still said it's 10 years away. So anyway, I do acknowledge the funniness of the dig, though.
I'm glad I threw that in there. I'm happy to tee you up with our next section, though, which is, as we always do, the robot rundown, where the rubber meets the road. So what has been going on in the land of robots?
First off, the first one I wanted to do was something that you and I have been talking about very early on in the pod, which is around training robotics and training it in whatever the field of domain of expertise that anyone's involved in. And for us, it's predominantly construction. Something interesting this week was a factory worker wearing the equivalent of Meta Ray-Bans or similar. And they basically reduced or compressed a factory worker's job into 18 lines of code. And I thought that was really interesting. And I think we were joking before, it actually got me thinking, like, how many lines of code is a certain person's job in your business? How complex is what we do as humans physically and intellectually? We're seeing coders getting wiped out now by the team at Replit and others. But in your physical world, everyone feels like their job is safe. But when you start thinking about your physical role, your blue collar job, how many lines of code is your job? And that's a really interesting thought. And that's what this is going to get boiled down to. When you think about it, everything is software, right? So where are we?
Yeah, it is funny. And I'm going to have to really tame myself here and not go on a deep technical rant.
We want it.
I'll be like very short, but we talk about like layers of abstraction. So in coding, I think I have mentioned this before, but traditional coding at the moment, you're writing in English and you're writing commands, but under the hood, that's calling other code, which is calling other code. That's actually getting down into the code that the computer chips can read, and then you're getting into the voltages that are getting centered between the chips, and then you're going over the internet. It all goes basically back down to the metal or back to the actual physical world, whereby these things are happening. And in compressing this worker's job down to the 18 lines of code, I'm actually just reading the code that's in there now. They've got things like, the right hand has to do command press button. Well, what does press button mean? You can't just the words press button don't mean anything. They're actually invoking a function to do something. And how do you do that thing? Well, it's more code under the hood. And so it's kind of like all these layers of abstraction.
So this is like a summary layer. This is like a summary layer.
Exactly. It's like the summary of what's happening. There's all of these assumptions of what's going on under the hood here. But what I think is happening with AI is we've got these interfaces whereby rather than having to go in and program what press button means, you have got the AI that is smart enough to learn how to do that for you. So I think this actually goes back to what Satya Nadella said, which who's the CEO of Microsoft. He said that a lot of the back-end operating logic inside of code is going to get replaced by LLMs. And I think that is actually true. To what you were saying before about Demis and Google putting DeepMind into the middle of Google, I think that's going to happen at a lot of companies. The AI teams or the AI models are going to go into the very core of a business and start to replace a lot of that logic. So I think that's a very interesting point and definitely a tangent on here. But yeah, impressive they've compressed it into 18 lines of code, but realistically, there's a lot more code under the hood.
So with the coding tools that are coming out now, and I suppose that's your trade, you're going through, and as a CEO, it's a bit different because it's not attacking your job function, but it is automating what you studied, right? And is it just a mindset of lowering the ego and just saying, okay, now how do I use this tool, as opposed to defending the ground of how complex what you did is? Because what we're getting down to is everyone's role is just an amount of code, right? Yep. Digital, we're just doing it physically. So what mindset shift have software engineers gone through that potentially blue collar workers need to start going through, knowing it's coming?
I think it's the equivalent of a photographer or someone like a hipster who wants to go out and take photos on their film camera. Like everyone knows that even your iPhone is going to take a better photo than your film camera, or you can just put a freaking filter over it to make it look like it was taken on a film camera. But it's not about that. It's about some people really enjoy that part, like going out with the old mechanical thing and doing the craft. And I think coding is kind of the same thing right now. If you think that you're going to still be better than the AIs as a coder and you're going to be more efficient in the workplace, you are delusional and you need to use the tools. You need to go out and use the AI tools, otherwise you won't have a job. But you can still go out and write code and have people get genuine enjoyment about writing beautiful code, and that is part of the skill. And to be able to go in and still understand what is going on, I think is still a practice. So I actually think that people studying should still learn to write code. I think that's actually a good thing to do. Just like if you were studying photography, you probably would go out and learn to use one of these cameras to know what it does. But it is an ego thing. If anyone is out there burying their head in the sand and not wanting to use these coding tools, yeah, they're going to be out of a job.
Yeah, and I think the blue collar workforce will be fighting harder than potentially what coders did. But one of the things just before we leave this post, as a CEO gets me excited, as a human being is a bit dystopian, is the first line says loop forever. Now, to me, that's
Don't
super
stop.
efficient. As a person, that's worrying.
Yeah, well, and the AI agents, they don't stop. They're 24/7. They've got a cost to run them, but there's some depreciation involved with that on the computer chips we're running them on. But other than that, there's no rest. There's no sick days. There's no waking up on the wrong side of the bed. It is looping forever.
I just don't know how much I want the forever plumber. even if it is a humanoid.
Well, you need a break. They're only a once a week type conversation.
I just don't know if Elon's especially gonna put the plumber's attitude in there as well. And the pants slightly falling down. Anyway, let's straighten up. Now, Brett Adcock, also known as the man who can burn more capital than anyone on the planet. I've got a bit of an announcement this week. And did we end up clarifying that this announcement, what the accuracy of this is?
Yeah. I was initially, it said we've exceeded 1 billion in funding. I thought it might have been in total, but it was part of this round. So they raised somewhere over $1 billion as part of this round. Yeah.
So, and they've got their valuation up to 39 billion. Now, it is now only slowly creeping up. There were some big checks written previously and some big valuation rises. Now I think they're in they're starting to see maybe a plateau in what's possible. And this happens in these later stage rounds and valuations around, you're taking on more capital, but how can you keep justifying a high valuation? What I thought was really interesting is that the people invested here, Brookfield, who own Multiplex construction company in Australia, so they're one of the largest physical asset management companies in the world. Nvidia investing, which they're getting on the Larry Ellison bandwagon because all the chips in every Figure robot's going to be an Nvidia chip, so it's self-fulfilling. One I really enjoyed was Macquarie Capital, the Aussies, having a crack.
Yeah. How did they get a look in? Who's managed to get in on this round?
Mate, Macquarie are actually a serious firm.
That's true.
I built the house of one of the ex main guys there, and but they're from an Australian point of view, they're probably our strongest, I feel like, contender in terms of serious investment firms. But yeah, Salesforce are in. So the one thing Brett's managed to do without releasing a product here, he's managed to get an enormous amount of serious people involved. So what do you think is that almost half the job of the CEO? I mean, he set the vision. He's probably involved in he is involved in recruiting. He's got a platform on X. He does weekly releases. Within that, he releases that he wants certain engineers, and then he gets thousands of applications. And then in the meantime, he seems to get $1 billion a month. Investment.
It's a good question, and I wonder. Part of me says it's because of his founder-led content that he's putting out there, and it's very marketable stuff. When you've got these humanoid robots and you do beautiful videos, and they obviously go viral. But I do wonder how much of it is that distribution versus other things that he's doing and the networks that he has. I think that Brett actually had a business before this that he sold for a lot of money, so maybe he's very tapped in. Our only interface to this is through our X feed, so we're probably a bit biased. Maybe he's doing all these things behind the scenes, but look, there has to be something to be said for the leaders of companies having good distribution on their product, because they're all doing it now. Even Satya Nadella from Microsoft, he's out there talking about Excel formulas and stuff. He doesn't be doing that. The old CEO wouldn't be doing that. The old CEO from say 10, 20 years ago would be sitting up in the ivory tower saying, let me sign off on some financials and talk high level strategy. They're not in the weeds of what's happening with their product, but I think we're seeing that shift. And so I think there must be something to be said for the leaders of companies being out there, being in the weeds of the product and showing that and getting people excited by that, because distribution is half the game.
Yeah, I feel like a CEO's role now is pretty much vision, talent, and either revenue or capital. and you
But
don't
what about
need
product? Where
much.
would you put product in there? How many CEOs do you think have to be in the detail of product?
It's a great question. I suppose it depends maybe who your co-founder is, or who else you have. You definitely need to understand your customer. But I would have thought you take your hand, like once you set the vision and the core values and basically what we are and what we deliver, that's a bit of a guardrail in terms of how your staff should behave and the kind of product experience that you should be getting. But I suppose until you have a product that's really nailing it and it's got the go-to-market strategy and the product market fit sorted, I suppose you do have to have your hands on the wheel early days. After that, I feel like you can hire people to fine-tune your product. You just need an open feedback loop to yourself of what the feedback is from your customers. But I still think grounding the business in the vision, making sure it's on track, getting in the talent. If you get the right talent in, they'll get you the product. But then I think a big part, and I'm sure you've dealt with it, is the distraction of capital raising. It's you're either, as a business owner who's flourishing, you're chasing more and more revenue to keep growing so that the ceiling raises for all of your talent, or you're chasing capital to keep the dream alive. So he's obviously in there's no way that 50% of his job hasn't been getting this capital every couple of months. I mean, their valuation's gone from 2 billion to 40 billion in 18 months.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. And it's probably, I don't think it has to be one or the other. I think you can definitely have both types of CEOs. You look at something like a Steve Jobs, he was obviously very involved in the product. He was a product leader. But then you take someone like Jeff Bezos, he was more of a people leader, and he set the vision, and he was very close to the customer. He was always about being customer first. But I don't think he was in the details of the product. Like, you just have to use the Amazon website to realize that, good design is not in the core of their ethos. Like, it's really quick. It understands the customer, but they don't care how it looks.
Yeah, well then, but what is the product then? Is the product getting something to you in 24 hours, or is the product the visual identity of the interface? I think what Jeff would say is that product is you receiving the good.
Yeah.
The service.
Yeah. I think it's probably the culmination of every touch point that you have with the business. And so I guess, look, in the business of selling houses, would you say that the product, not selling, building houses, but I guess you do selling along the way, but is it the actual end product, the house that they get, or is it the experience throughout the way? What is the product there?
We're probably one of the few that believe the experience is just as important as the end product. Most people believe that building homes is a bad experience. And then as long as the product's right at the end, it's like the lollipop after the needle. We drive experience first and foremost, and we assume the product is going to be world-class. To me, that's an assumption at our level, and the way we try and stand out is the experience. Yeah. I mean, you can't compete at the level. And actually, your statutory requirements and the commercial obligations will take care of itself, because if it's wrong, you'll go broke. So that, to me, that's the given. And then the experience is actually the differentiator. That was bad English. But that's what makes the difference. And that's what I focus on. I focus on customer experience and assume the product, and the product's just part of the experience.
I like it.
OpenAI, are they dipping into the robot rundown?
Yeah, look, I don't know how valid this is, but apparently there's been some job posts out there spelling out things like teleoperation for teaching robots and simulations on Nvidia that OpenAI are hiring for. So look, I don't have heaps here, and we probably don't have to spend a bunch of time on it, but I think what this says is that robotics are coming, humanoids are coming, and all of the big players are going to be very interested by it. So I guess I watch this space to see how heavily OpenAI does move in this space. Does it tie in with the Johnny Ive IO getting into physical hardware? Is that also robotics? I don't know. But very in line with the pattern of we're seeing software and hardware converge. And it seems like all of the exciting companies at the moment are starting to do a bit of both.
Yeah, what it says to me is that I just think these firms have got to be careful with how they deploy their capital. Like, there's been so much frothiness in the market, everyone wants to invest. They've all been receiving billions and billions of dollars. If you go out and deploy it irrationally and act in this bubble atmosphere, you're going to miss out on the opportunity of all these super smart acquisitions along the way. So instead of buying another $10 billion of Nvidia GPUs, how can you train differently on your existing set? Or how can you build more efficiencies into your training or just into your product experience, with your existing compute? Because what if you can go around and start acquiring these little startups with, that have got freaks building hardware and all these bolt-ons that might, tie into your ecosystem or into your vertical stack. And that's what this feels like to me, is if you don't just burn your capital and you start deploying it much more rationally like you would have done 5 years ago, then I think the opportunities are endless, because what they almost become is their own equity firm. But they can do it on products or companies that they'll have synergies with.
Yeah, and talent pipeline as well. It's a good point. But we see this a little bit. We do see these acquisitions happening, like OpenAI buying Windsurf, and there's smaller deals going on. But I think it's a good point. With the amount of capital that they all have, you can buy enough of the GPUs and do these acquisitions as well. So yeah, it's surprising that we don't see a bit more of that happening.
Yeah, but even the Windsurf thing, I feel like that's froth on froth. Whereas if you just go just outside of the bubble, because they've got the best models. So once you've got the best models, you've got the compute, I just think that they could go wider than deeper with their spend and place more bets, open up their ecosystem and see where they're going. But I mean, there's much smarter people there than me. But we'll move on to another smarter person than me, Mira Murati. I love her. I mean, she started a business. She's worth $2 billion. And 6 months later, she's produced a research blog. She is the female Jan LeCun at this point.
but she's at least raised some money. She's at least started something.
She's gone and done something.
She's done something. Come on, Jan. Yeah, so I think we had a bit of a laugh that they did that massive raise without a product. But I guess it's kind of gone one step further, because they haven't gone and released the product 6 months later. They've released the problem that they're going to solve.
I love it.
Okay, we got the money. Now we've got to figure out what the problem is. And then finally they've got the problem, which, look, as it turns out, is a big problem. So the problem is, we all know that AI, when using LLMs, can hallucinate. It can say different things. And the whole idea of it is it's probabilistic, right? It's got a probable chance of saying this word after the other one. And that's how these systems are built. So inherently, you have this non-deterministic nature, which is a fancy way of saying you don't have 100% accuracy over what the result will be. If you ask it the same question, it's not always going to give you the same result, which in like typical computing is really scary, but we're kind of taking it as a given now, because AI is so good at what it does. We just have to take it as a given that sometimes it's going to be wrong. But what they're saying is they're doing the research and they're going to build a product to make AI deterministic. And I think that's what the world needs. And if they can solve that, I think they'll probably just grow into their current valuation. But all the big enterprise companies, not just software, they want to roll out AI that is going to be 100%. Like if you're a bank, you can't go and plug in the back end of your systems into OpenAI's models and just hope that it's going to do all the calculations right. Like it needs to be bulletproof. It needs to be 100%. But if you could make it as efficient as AI and as bulletproof as old ways of doing things, yeah, obviously that's a massive business.
What I see here, this is a clear example of the CTO or the technical co-founder going out to start their own business And 6 months later, they come up with a research blog. It's like she's like the antithesis of Brett Adcock. Like she's like, okay, I got $2 billion. Leave it with me for 6 months. All right, yeah, we got a research blog, and we're gonna. And I know what they're working on is really important. But it's funny in terms of obviously Sam is probably one of the greatest salesmen in the world. In terms of what he's been able to achieve, and Brett, in the same way. And Mira Murati is probably more technically astute than both of them. But it is interesting on what challenge you tackle is the ultimate choice of the CEO. And this is a technical person trying to solve a technical problem and not selling fluff. Like they're going to the core of a breakthrough here. And it's not as sexy as here's a robot doing your laundry, or some of the promises Sam Altman's made. But I sort of get a sense that the CEO in her business might end up being the Andreessen Horowitz who was invested, or the Sequoia. It might be the VCs around her, as the board might almost be the strategic leaders here, and she's the deep technical thinker about the problems they're trying to solve.
Yeah, but also and I guess to build on that is the problem about banking on one technical breakthrough is like, then that's all you've got. Like there is a chance that Elon comes out with a X post tomorrow, say, yeah, XAI actually just solved that. And it's a post and they move on. And this business is like, okay, well, that's 6 months gone. What do we do next with the rest of the capital we've got? So I think this whole way of going about it is deeply riddled versus building up brand and building up hype and building things in the real world. So I guess it's a watch this space for sure, but it doesn't seem like I wouldn't be putting my money into this, especially at the valuation it is.
Yeah, it's interesting though, isn't it? I mean, Wang Yi's now fifth most important person in the world according to Donald Trump. And when you look at her valuation and her IP versus what he got with Zuck, I still think it's a legitimate valuation with IP. But I agree, it feels like a rudderless ship without a product or salesperson at the lead. Technical person in the lead just doesn't feel right there, but we'll watch them and potentially eat our words later. Mate, let's get into tool of the week. And I think you've got a bit of a double whammy this week, or things that might have gone each way. So why don't you take us through it?
Yes. So I was walking around New York today while my son was asleep, going from the Statue of Liberty to a sunglasses store because I want to get a new pair of sunglasses. Maybe I should just wait for the better Ray-Bans. But I thought that I would help put together our docket for the podcast using voice AI, turned on ChatGPT and started speaking with it. And it was going really well. Like it's probably on the phone to ChatGPT for half an hour, maybe 40 minutes on this walk. And I thought that I'd built out a really good docket so we could just roll into this and have all the good topics to talk about. We got together before and I realized that ChatGPT had lied about half of it. There was old stories. There was things that I mentioned to put in that they hadn't put in. And so I have just put ChatGPT voice mode in the absolute innovation bin when it comes to reliability. It's good for a recipe and helping guide you through that. But if you need reliability and you need an artifact at the end, put ChatGPT's voice mode in the bin. It is not there yet and it is not trustworthy. So that's in my bin for the week. I have a tool of the week that I'm hoping doesn't end up in the bin because I haven't actually tried it, but you're
like my wife. She's on Vivino. She gives wine 5 stars before she tries them based on how her evening is going. She's like, fabulous.
She's about the vibes.
Perfect. I go, you haven't drank yet. She goes, it's perfect. Okay, this is a serious platform for wine enthusiasts. You can't be just throwing 5 stars out there.
I'm with Lou. It's about the vibes.
Granola vibes.
Yeah. So my tool is Granola. I've talked about it before. It's my note-taking tool of choice. There's a few of them, and they are all going to get crushed by the big dogs. But Granola is doing well for now. Now, they've got a mobile app that works really well. So you've got an in-person meeting. You can turn your Granola on. It works in the background. In lieu of having a limitless pin like you've got, you can just turn that on. Now, the thing
does it come through your headphones, or does it need the microphone of your phone?
You can put it through your headphones. It just probably wouldn't pick up the people opposite
on the other
you
side.
Yeah. But with this release, which is news, I haven't tried it. The thing that I really wanted it to do was to keep track of my phone calls, because with a phone call, like often you get a call back from a customer or something and you can't remember what you're doing, you're driving, you need to remember something. Why can't I have everything transcribed? And that was always the suggestion that I had for Granola. We could have put this in, thanks for watching, I guess. They were obviously listening to the Build to Scale podcast. They've now shipped it so you can use this with your phone. I think this is really big, especially if you can pick it up automatically, because then you do truly get, without having to go on loudspeaker, all of your modes of operation, whether you're in an in-person meeting, whether you're on a Zoom call, or whether you're on the phone, you get your AI transcription. So I think this is actually really big if they've solved for this. I haven't seen other companies that have solved for this. And so maybe I'll report back next week on how well Granola does at recording phone calls.
Yeah, so Apple have had the button that says, that I actually always hit with my ear, that basically starts transcribing or recording. And that's a real, anytime I've been on the phone with someone, and I've never done it on purpose, but they're like, oh, why are you recording this? You're like, oh God, like I didn't want to, sorry. That's been a real point of friction that hasn't worked. Something like this, because it's just your notes, right? Like you're allowed to take notes when you speak to someone. So it's just doing that for you through the call.
I think it is a gray area because if the transcription is really good, you basically almost have a recording. But yeah, you're not physically recording. You can't reproduce in a court of law like a physical recording where you can play that back over a speaker. It's just the equivalent if you were really good at taking notes of what was going on. And so I think that's why it's a bit of a gray area. But yeah, you don't have to disclose it, just like how Granola currently works if you're on a Zoom call. It doesn't have to come into the Zoom meeting. It just listens to the audio on your side and it does the AI transcription of what it thinks was said on that call. And it's just like you taking good notes.
Yeah, I think the reason, why this product is good and why you liked it initially is because everyone's got an AI note taker now, even like, everyone's grandpa, even if they are Larry Ellison, has got one. I thought when I first mentioned to you, I was trying to do some sort of fireflies or otter snobbery like a year ago. And, you were like, oh, well, I actually use Granola. You can't actually even see it. I think it's embarrassing now the amount of note takers at meetings.
Oh, there's more note takers than humans in the meeting. It's like, what is going on?
Yeah, it's too much. So I actually think the ultimate sophistication is not having one. Not bringing something to the room with you. So I think great product, probably another one that Apple could look at. I feel like Apple should just be doing really cool, quick acquisitions with, they got they're worth over $2 trillion or something. They could just grab Granola, bolt it in, and just keep expanding on it, I suppose, through all their products. But I agree with you. Really cool product. Everyone should check it out because, coming to a meeting with a note taker is starting to get old because you're just annoying everyone.
I like it. Trend setting. The trend has been set. Do not come with a note taker anymore. You are officially old.
How's the person that thought the tool of the week was going to be a note taker and they come here and go, note takers are gone. You cannot have a note taker. They're like, trying to keep up. I'm listening to this tech pod. I thought I was going to get a note. I've just got an otter. Like I've just asked the cool guy. It's cool.
The note takers, they are cool still, but just keep it under wraps. I think that's what we're saying. Don't
under
be
the hood.
Overt. Yeah, keep it under the hood.
Yeah, it's like rocking up to a meeting of your jocks. Like just put something over the top of them. Just now, which seems like a great segue into parting wisdom.
Does it?
Actually, no, it's not. Sorry, we've got. What do you want to do? Do you want to do AI top 5, or do we want to jump into the wisdom? Where are we?
we can go into the wisdom. I was just wondering how you're going to segue that. I was looking forward to it. Mate, for parting wisdom, I had a thought, and it was just that, and it's more of a thought provoker that I want to put out there. We're obviously seeing humanoid robots is becoming a thing, right? Like there's no denying that humanoid robots are here to stay, and robotics in general. We've talked about it in the pod many times. similar to the gold rush, similar to when software as a service became popular, I think what people should be thinking of, if you're not going to go and start a humanoid robot company, if you're not going to be in the arena doing that, which only a select few people are going to be able to do, what are the areas that are going to benefit from this? And because I think we're going to be sitting here in 2 years' time going, wow, why didn't I think of that? Like, if humanoid robots were coming, what business could I have started? Because this is that moment. The moment is they're coming. So what is the world going to look like in 2 years? And what business should you be starting now, knowing that wave is coming? The gold rush is coming. Are you going to go find gold, or are you going to sell the picks and shovels that are required? And I actually don't have heaps of ideas as of yet. It's only a thought that popped into my mind in this walk that I had today. So maybe we can report back on this, but I think that's just something that I am personally thinking about, because, we always miss these moments, right? And we always say, who are the smart people that were ahead of the curve? Well, you don't have to be building robots to benefit from them coming.
Yeah, I mean, from my point of view, Elysium is the whole thing behind it is it's the post-human workforce business. And it's too far-fetched for certain people. And what I actually have to do when I'm doing strategy for it, or I'm thinking about go-to-market, or I'm thinking about a pitch for investors, or we've just released the website, is I have to put myself into the future. Like, I have to take myself out of the day-to-day problems of running a construction company. And I have to, and I usually do it on the weekends. And it's funny, you mentioned ChatGPT 5 voice mode. 90% of my arguments are not with my wife. It's with the chick from ChatGPT 5 voice, and it's at the gym. It's at St. Haven in Collingwood. So there's a bunch of like high net worth individuals on treadmills looking at me bluing with someone, which happens to be the girl.
Do you reckon they know? Do they know it's AI? Do they think you're just on the phone to the same person the whole time?
I've had someone asking me to get off the call before. I'm like, I'm not on a call, mate. I'm trying to start a business here. I'm trying to start a revolution. I'm trying to make your home autonomous. But you really do have to, and we're talking about AI native companies and who's going to win, and we'll talk about them some more. You have to start your mindset of stepping into the future of the post-human workforce, whether it's in software or hardware, and then start the foundations of what that's going to be. Those who can do that the best will win, I believe. And then you sort out the technical after you set the vision of what the business could be. And that's sort of where we're at the moment.
Got it. I love it.
Are we ending there, or are we ending with a little top five?
Let's do the top five. Why not?
Yeah, I like a little ending of top five. And I think what we do is we'll go from five up. So it's the reverse draft order, one at a time. You can go first, because I think we should end on my note.
we can certainly end on your note. Okay, well, I'll start then. I'll start at 5. I have slotted, even though we trashed her a bit, I've slotted Mira Murati into number 5.
You know what's funny? She's displaced Jan LeCun at your last top 5. You've gone from one mid to another.
Yeah, we have. I've also got people who've just rolled into the bar and taking the piss out of me for doing a podcast. So my thoughts of getting kicked out of the bar at 10, I think I can stay. Girls are literally pointing at me, laughing.
And
oh my God.
hearing you talk about Mira Murati.
I know. Yeah, so I've got to keep on the ball here. So Mira Murati, she's slotted in just with the fact that they have finally released the problem that they're solving on. It could be big, so I put her at number 5.
Wow, she does a paper, and you land her at number 5. All right, I'm going with her actual boss. I'm going with Sam Altman at number 5. Clearly a powerhouse. Mira Murati thought he made her work too hard, so she went off and started her own business, possibly the worst idea of all time. So I've got Sam Altman at number 5, which means that the top 4 must be pretty strong for both of us.
Well, something that we didn't mention in this podcast, maybe because of my technical mishap with voice mode, has dropped the topic. But did you see that video about that he had with Tucker Carlson, where they were talking about
getting accused of murder?
Oh God, that was intense. That was That was an awkward 5 minutes of content.
I listened to the whole hour. It was really good content. It's good to see Sam not sounding like a robot and getting himself out there in front of these people. And he's sort of honing in his communication chops. And I thought it was a really bold move by him. And I love that Tucker can accuse you of murder and then just move on to the next subject.
Yeah, it's wise. I know, like Sam was like, you know, is that an accusation? Tucker's like, no, it's not. But it does sound pretty sus.
You do look a bit murdery.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Well, we've got the murderer in number 5 for you. We can move on to number 4. Look, this is your guy, but I agree with you. He needs to get in there. I've got Demis, just with all the things that Google is doing, and DeepMind getting into the core of things. I've put him in at my number 4.
Yeah, I don't mind that. I've actually got him a little bit higher. I brought in at number 4, everyone's granddaddy, Larry Ellison. Do you know what the most amazing thing about this man is?
In the AI top 5. Wow.
Owner of TikTok, part of the OpenAI Ponzi, clearly the father of Sam Altman as well, or the grandfather, in terms of he's really running the show there because he's in charge of their compute, or he's in charge of his layer of the compute. Yep. We'll get to the real core of it later. I think what's really amazed me about Larry is I believe he still holds on to 30 to 40% of the shareholdings of Oracle. That is unbelievable at a over $500 billion valuation, probably closing in on $1 trillion now.
Well, he was.
How do you actually? I don't even have 40% of my company. I don't think anymore.
I know he was pre-VC. He was when you had to actually build the company and own it, and people wouldn't give you money. So he's done bloody well.
I feel like I'm gonna have to sell the shirt off my back to keep the dream alive. He's still got 40% of Oracle. So he's my number 4.
Lovely. Well, I'll move on to number 3. I've put Dario in, who is the CEO and co-founder of Anthropic, who does Claude. We talked about their massive raise last week. Anthropic has really embedded themselves into the behemoths of AI and doesn't look like they're going anywhere. They're not a fad. And Dario has some really hot takes when it comes to AI. They talk about safety and how the other companies aren't potentially following the right mentalities. And they continue to ship. So Claude is really good. Their coding tools are really good. And they're continuing to ship. So I think he's going to be a real power player when it comes to the future of AI.
Yeah, they are. I mean, we speak about Replit, but I think Claude is at the back, Replit's a bit of a on top of, it's sitting on top of Claude. So I think Claude in the software space is really attractive, and I agree that those guys have done a really good job. I'm going with Sir Demis Hassabis, and it's taking me. He got knighted. Now, if you had him at 4 and didn't know that, potentially he was a little low. But coming into the top 3 is Sir Demis Hassabis. And once again, to everyone, go listen to his interview with the All In, and then also as the leader, as the engine room, as he anointed himself of one of Scotty's stocks. He's really important player in the AI industry. So I've got him at 3.
Sir Demis, I like it. Number 2, I've thrown him in again. I've got Elon. He's always there. Daddy is home. He's back at Tesla. He's back at XAI. And he continues to ship. So I don't think we need to talk too much about him, but he's held his place for me at number 2.
I'm with you here. Some people might accuse us of agreeing too much on this pod, but the fact that we both agreed Elon is number 2, considering what the guy does, means that there's obviously some heavy hitters at number 1.
Well,
and
let's move
there's
on.
There's a lot of names left on the table. There's a lot of names left in the world on the table. Think Bill Gates. God, there's going to be some other big names out there. Who are you going with?
Well, I'm going to actually quote you, Scotty. And my guy is the guy that knows how to burn capital like no other. Brett Adcock has made it. The Mr. Adcock has made it to number 1. I just love how he's putting himself out there. And who knows, Figure could be better than Optimus. Who knows? So Brett Adcock has come in. He's trumped Elon for me. And he's taken out the number one on the AI top 5 for me this week.
Jesus, that's a big call. That is a big call. Having the productless Brett Adcock is your
laundry.
number one.
It can fault house.
Now, what is the substrate of the intelligence that young Brett, the chief capital burning officer of Figure AI, what is the substrate, the intelligence that goes into the Figure AI, also the Optimus, also Dario, also Demis, also Mira, also Larry? Who do they all pass on the check to?
Well, he didn't appear in my X feed this week, so he's irrelevant.
He's getting 80% of the net profits of AI, but he's quiet. He hasn't posted on X. Therefore, he's been demoted out of Matt's top 5. But he is the king, the Lord and Savior, the one and only Jensen Huang. He's probably building something. He's probably building products that make money and not sitting on X talking rubbish and raise. The other thing he doesn't do? Raise capital, because the man makes $50 billion a quarter.
Yeah,
Profit.
yeah. He doesn't. He's not the burner of capital. He's the reaper of it. Look, it's obviously a very strong pick. I am looking forward to the day that he doesn't make number one, and I just wonder what has to actually happen. Who has to do something, or what has to happen with Jensen? Maybe, like we said a couple of weeks ago, Jensen starts moving into doing the home, and Scotty applies for the janitor role at Nvidia. Maybe that's going to be the thing that triggers it.
The only thing I can think of, due to their market cap at $4 trillion, is that he buys Tesla and Google, and we have Sir Jensen on, and it all just merges into one. That's the only way that they're getting in on this number one action.
Did you
Sir Jensen on? No.
I think that is a very good note to wrap on, and hopefully, I think we can get a good short out of that one. So Jensen along, I love it.
All right, mate. Well, don't get kidnapped in New York. Say hi to those ladies for me. I'm gonna
get out of here because they've embarrassed the hell out of me. But you enjoy Hawaii. I hope the kids are over their vomiting and the plane trip back is a little bit more smooth.
Love it, mate.
See ya.